months since Mark Wohlers got Carlos Baerga to fly out to end the '95 World Series and give the Braves their first World Championship. Today, the American League champion Cleveland Indians visit West Palm Beach for a World Series rematch. Braves-Indians next. Hello again, everybody. Along with Don Sutton, Skip Carey, welcoming you to another year of Atlanta Braves baseball here on CBS. And it feels good to be able to say this, of course. This year, the Braves try to defend the world's title, and they go against the team they beat in the World Series last year, the Cleveland Indians. Don, it's going to be great working with you and Pete and Joe again, and it's been a very quiet spring training, and when you're the world champ, that's good news.
Oh, sure it is, Skip. A lot of times it can mean you're very boring, but that certainly doesn't fit the case for either the Indians or the Braves. For the Braves, it just means that anything that has happened has been to fill some role players. Nobody's gotten any trouble. Nobody's gotten seriously injured. The Indians added a couple of key players in Jack McDowell and Franco to play first base, free up Eddie Murray for designated hitter. But I think if you're a defending champion and you don't lose anybody to free agency, nobody gets hurt and nobody retires, you could not ask for a better scenario to start spring training.
You mentioned Jack McDowell. He'll be on the mound for the Indians today, and John Smoltz, who's been sensational this spring, will pitch for the Braves, and McDowell is a big addition to the Cleveland team.
Well, here's a guy that in this area of specialization has averaged 7 innings a start. The Indians are right-handed heavy in their starting rotation, so if they're going to add a pitcher who's a right-handed, they want a horse who can go to the mound, log some innings, do some quality time. That's Jack McDowell. Good addition for him.
We'll have some fun today. Get it started for real in about a week. And back with the starting lineups, play-by-play story, right after this.
Part of the crowd here at Municipal Stadium in West Palm Beach, probably the biggest crowd this stadium will have ever seen in an exhibition game as the Indians come into town. Beautiful day for baseball. Temperature in the high 70s, puffy clouds floating around, wind blowing in from center field. It should be a good day for the pitchers. Here's Mike Hargrove's starting lineup for the Cleveland Indians. Kenny Lofton's going to lead it off, play center field. Julio Franco, the new addition, coming back from a tour in Japan, will bat second. Carlos Baerga hitting in the third spot. Albert Bell, clean up and play left field. He'll be followed by Jim Thome, the third baseman. Manny Ramirez gets the start in right. Sandy Alomar will catch bat seventh. Arguably the best fielding shortstop in the American League, Omar Vizquel in the eighth spot. And Jack McDowell will complete the batting order. Here's a defense for the Braves. Klesko in left, Grissom in center, Justice in right. Eddie Giovanola in place of Chipper Jones at third. Blauser, Lemke, and McGriff make up the rest of the infield. Javi Lopez behind the plate and making his fourth start in A games, John Smoltz, 2-0. He hasn't allowed a run in 9 innings. John also pitched 6 shutout innings against the minor leaguers. So there are the ingredients. We're ready to go, and here's Skip.
Okay, Don, thanks very much. Lofton hit .310 last year, and I would say he's ready. He's hitting .417 this spring with 8 doubles and a triple. He's a fine-looking ball player. Houston goofed when they gave this guy up, and we're underway. And Smoltz deals the strength. John has pitched extremely well all spring. He has yet to allow an earned run. He's 2-0. At the knees, Lofton didn't think so, and Smoltz is ahead 0-2. We're just underway in West Palm. Standing room only crowd here. Slider down and in, 1-2.
Lofton's one of those guys, Skip. He doesn't walk much, but he doesn't strike out much. Puts the ball in play, and normally he gives the 2 and 3 hitters in the lineup, when you're starting a game, a chance to look at a few of the pitchers' pitches before they have to go up there.
The 1-2. Downstairs, 2-2. I still think maybe the biggest play, and one that's really lost in the shuffle of last year's 6th game of the World Series, was the play Belliard made coming out of nowhere to catch his foul pop leading off the 9th inning, because if he gets on, he's poisoned. He stole 54 bases last year. And hits that ball, just fouled on the third base line. Still 2-2. Lofton out of East Chicago, Indiana, makes his home now out in Arizona.
I was talking to Mark Wohlers about that play. Mark, as you remember, on the mound when it was made, and he had no idea anybody had a shot at catching it, but it was a real shot in the arm for Wohlers. He said he felt pumped up, and he thought he could get the next out.
Just missed the outside corner. Lopez held it there, but Angel Hernandez said no, and the count is full.
It's going to be close, but borderline, and from our angle, looked a little outside.
strike. Lofton can't believe it. He says it's the same spot as ball 3. 1 out.
Well, there are 5 strike zones in play, and obviously Lofton doesn't agree with Angel Hernandez. Maybe one of the reasons you can see that he's calling that pitch is see how far inside Hernandez was setting? He was way inside, and normally an umpire in there is going to be more liberal with the call on the outside. Do we have ourselves a little brouhaha going?
We may have an ejection, but I don't know what it's all about. Mike Hargrove is out to find out.
There might be a few expletives better off left deleted in that conversation.
Lofton may have taken exception to Hernandez kicking his bat down the third base line after he had dropped it there. Well, we're off and running. And here's Julio Franco back from Japan, where he hit 306 last year. High pop foul, out of play.
Well, with Eddie Murray as the DH, you really can use one DH against either righties or lefties, Murray being a switch hitter. That's the reason they wanted Franco, was to play first base, but what I hear, he has been less than a Golden Glover over there at first. So that may not be etched in stone that Franco will spend all summer at first base.
He's hitting only 205 on the spring, though he's been a 3-time American League All-Star prior to going to Japan. Came up in the Phillies organization, was involved in that Von Hayes trade where Philadelphia gave up
half the farm.
Yeah, for a guy who was a serviceable and good major league ball player, but never the superstar they thought he would be. One and two, the count.
John looks at midseason form. His mechanics, very simple, very smooth. We see him a lot of times where he seems to put maybe too much effort into trying to grind out every pitch, but as for our first two hitters, nice, easy motion. He's at his best when he does that.
John got roughed up a little bit in the World Series by the Cleveland team. Check swing, foul at the plate. Count stays the same. We see Cleveland and Atlanta on Friday night at 7:10. Then Boston comes in on Saturday, a 1:10 game. And then we open it up Monday against the Giants.
Day game. Still some tickets available.
The 2-2. Fly ball, short right. Justice pats the glove and makes the catch. 2 down. If you're interested in opening day tickets, call 404-249-6400. Or if you're outside the Atlanta metro area, 1-800-326-4000. Tomahawk Day, opening day, by the way, presented by Powerade and Easy Serve. First 45,000 fans to enter the gates receive a foam Spirit Tomahawk.
Bayerg is a guy, Skip, that's had 2 jobs to do this spring. One, he's had to get in shape. Then he's had to get in shape to play, as he came in a little bit overweight, and he's had to work to pare off a few pounds, as well as getting himself ready to play in shape. Those are 2 different things.
He's hitting .375 for the spring. That doesn't happen often anymore. Most players now, with all the gyms and Nautilus equipment and the like, are ahead of the game when they get to spring training.
Well, it's to their best interest with the salaries and all the perks to make it a year-round job.
2 balls, no strikes. 3-0 the count. Bayerga last year, a .314 hitter with 15 homers, 90 runs driven in. Three and one. The old automatic is in there. You saw Albert Bell, the on-deck hitter. He's loosening up, swinging the bat, not swinging it at anyone. We're happy about that. Full count now, 3-2. You know, Don, you and I talked about this on radio a couple of weeks ago, but you look around the Atlanta starting lineup. Chipper Jones not playing today. He'll probably play tomorrow. You expect improvement from him in his second year. You expect improvement from the other young guys, Lopez and Klesko. Marquise Grissom had an off year offensively last year. So did David Justice. So did Jeff Blauser. If those three guys, that's going to twist fouling out of play. Come back and just do what they've done before in the major leagues, and everybody else does what you expect of them. This is going to be a team that scores a lot more runs.
Well, the given is it's going to be a good defensive ball club, and the given is that there's excellent pitching, but there was room for improvement offensively. They were opportunistic offensively last year, but certainly not up to the level of performance that all those guys can provide.
Another payoff pitch. Got it. Breaking ball. So Smoltz strikes out two of the first three men he faces. Bottom of the first. No score.
Whole lot going on while we were away. Mike Hargrove out to argue with Angel Hernandez. It got rather hot and heavy, as you can see. This is all after the fact. Hargrove has been kicked out. Here's a look at it right here. Gone. And what Mike Hargrove was doing right here in this ball game, you have two players managers in Bobby Cox and Mike Hargrove. Hargrove was going out to try to take the heat off his players, and in the process may have taken it a step too far, and he's gone. Here's Bobby Cox's starting lineup. Speaking of players managers, the Braves are going to send up Marquise Grissom to lead it off. Blauser and Giovanola to follow. McGriff, Justice, and Klesko will make up the heart of the order. Lopez to bat seventh, Lemke eighth, and then John Smoltz will complete it, and we'll give you the Cleveland Indians defense as the inning progresses.
Marquise Grissom hitting 258, or hit 258, I should say, last year, which is an off year for him. Jumps on the first one for McDowell, skies it into right center field. Ramirez is there and puts it away. One pitch, one out.
Here's a look at the Indians' defense. You saw Ramirez in right, Lofton in center, Bell will be in left, Tomey at third, Vizquel at shortstop, Baerga and Franco. Left side of that infield, a good one. Alomar will catch, and Jack McDowell will be making his fifth appearance, his fourth start. 0-2. He's been touched up a little in the spring. 13 hits in 12 innings. An earned run average approaching 6. But don't even think about that. When the bell rings, he'll be ready.
Great big right-hander Jeff Blauser in to face him. Jeff is hitting .310 for the spring. That's 99 points better than he hit last year.
He's hot right now, too, Skip. 5 out of his last 8. That's good news for the Braves.
A triple and a double to the off-field here yesterday. There's a strike at the knees. It's 1-1. McDowell 15-10 with the Yankees last year, 3.93 earned run average. ERAs in the American League, generally speaking, higher than the National because of the designated hitter.
Well, I had it explained to me. Sorry, Skip. I had it explained to me. You actually face a hitter and a half more in the American League because in the National League, the 8th place hitter is kind of a wild card. You can do what you want, and the 9th place hitter, an automatic out. So a little bit more to work in the American League.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Started to go laid off. Full count, 3-2.
Fastball, slider, and a split finger fastball, and he is a defensive player's delight. Gets the ball, comes right at you. Everybody on their toes every time Jack McDowell is out there.
Breaking ball, hit to third. Tomey up. 2 down. Ed Giovanola will be the batter. McDowell, if I'm not mistaken, is a pretty good rock and roll musician, too.
Yes. And out of Stanford University, I believe, so he is a multifaceted person.
Has an album out with a group called VIEW, and the album is called Extend Agenda.
One of my favorites.
They once opened for a group called the Smithereens.
Second group I like. They own a football team, don't they?
And it says he's now a member of a musical group called Stick Figure. He's out of Stanford. That may explain the whole thing. Giovanola pops it. Vizquel calls for it. One hands it. The inning is over. 1-2-3, nothing doing. We've played 1 in West Palm Beach, and we are scoreless. We go to the second inning. Albert Bell will lead it off. What a year he had last year. 50 homers, 126 RBIs, and he wasn't the MVP. Should have been.
Based on performance only? Yes. And that's what it should have been based on.
Good slider from Smoltz. 0-1. Bell out of LSU. By the way, I show you're really going to enjoy the Atlanta Braves on Top of the World. A retrospective of the 1995 season airs immediately following the game. We got a preview look at it tonight, rather last night. And Glenn Diamond, Scott Cockrell, and the gang did a great job on it. I think you'll enjoy it.
It's the best one I've ever seen as far as, and not to give away the plot, Braves did win.
Yeah, and I was glad to see that they had that in there.
The best one I've ever seen as far as personalizing players. There was some tremendous editing and some great cooperation by the players, and I think they're really going to enjoy it. Jim Huber did a great job of writing and narrating too for it.
He's a very talented fellow. That's right after the game. The 0-2. What's wrong with that pitch? 1-2 the count.
A lot of people are afraid to pitch a power hitter like this inside, but that is probably the safest place to pitch him if you get it in there or around the corner, because most power hitters, and Albert Bell certainly is one of them, likes to extend those big arms and hit the ball straight away.
2-2. That looked like strike three, didn't it?
The inside fastball it did. And that's a good pitch selection there by Javi and John Smoltz. If you come inside, you don't get the strike, then you have set up something outside, and John put that in a good spot just off the plate, tried to get him to chase him. I think he's going to have a good year this year.
Giovanola up and throwing. One down. Yeah, I'm not trying to get on Angel Hernandez. I think umpires sometimes get fooled just like hitters do. Umpires sort of look expecting a pitch away, and he gets fooled when a pitch comes in and doesn't really get the look he would like to have.
That's right, and I agree that you have to have the game in control, but I think an exhibition ball game like this, people want to see the players play. You know, this is not life or death. Nobody's going to remember next Monday who won this ball game.
Jim Thome is the batter, hit .314 last year, and takes a strike. Smoltz looks sharp as a tack. Thome 250 for the spring. 3 homers, 10 RBIs. An amazing story in Cleveland. Every ticket has already been sold. No ticket promos all year long for the Cleveland announcers.
I had a feeling that's where that was headed.
I asked him what that feels like. That is almost uncomfortable. You're so used to doing them. Meanwhile, have we signed Dion again? A helicopter is landing on one of the minor league diamonds, it looks like. Oh, it's a police helicopter? Uh-oh. And here with the play-by-play story, Don Sutton. 2 balls and a strike. Just missed high. 3-1. Pete Van Weer and Joe Simpson will join you after 4.5.
Me again. The beer girl.
The 3-1 pitch. Did he go? No. So Smoltz issues a pass, his first of the day. First base runner, here's Manny Ramirez. Ramirez, a big year last year. He hit .308 with 31 homers, 107 RBIs.
And on a ball club where it seemed like everybody else was getting a lot more ink and a lot more notoriety, I don't think they would have won without Manny Ramirez. Certainly not as easily.
He's having a good spring. .382, 4 homers. Another of the huge plays in the World Series. This guy being picked off first by Javi Lopez. The 1-0 pitch.
By the way, talking about that pickoff, Skip, again, not to give away the plot.
You're giving away the plot.
Nah, you gotta listen to what Fred McGriff says in the show about that pickoff play there.
Yeah, you're right. It's funny. The 1-0 pitch. Hit a mile high into left field. Ryan Klesko coming on. Blauser going out.
This is an adventure.
And it's going to drop. Can Grissom get the force? Yes. It's an 8-4. The wind played tricks with it. It's simply a fielder's choice out at second, 8-4.
At one time, that ball was headed toward left field, but it ended up drifting all the way back. Here's Ryan, thinks he's got a bead on it. I'm not sure if he's calling for it. Then he looks for help. Then Blauser clears out, and watch it drift away from Marquise Grissom. A wind from straight in from center field just pushed it back in the middle of the diamond. That's an alert play by Marquise. He didn't assume he had no play at second, up quickly throwing, and right there for the force out. Unusual force play.
Sandy Alomar is the batter. That was not a pretty sight, but it worked out okay. We're in the clear. The police helicopter took off without us. Renner at first, 2 down. Ramirez, not much of a threat to run. He stole 6 bases last year. One and one the count. Ramirez this time almost got picked off by the pitcher. Alomar, if he can stay healthy, is an all-star caliber catcher. Popped up. That might be trouble with this wind. Lemke on the run. Cannot get there.
You're going to pop one up. That's the perfect spot. McGriff knew right away. There you can see what the wind is doing to the banners blowing straight in from center field. Lemke knew, or McGriff knew, he didn't have a shot at it, and for Lemke it was a reach at best. It's still alive for Alomar.
1-2 the count. That's well hit. That's a base hit. Justice plays it on 1 hop, 2 on, 2 out. And so the play at second, the bang force on Tomey. Very significant here, and Omar Vizquel the batter.
We talked about some of the people who had good years last year. Some of them are continuing it right on through the spring. Certainly no apologies from Albert Bell for the spring he's having. Carlos Baerga, as you pointed out earlier, hitting it well, and Tomey too. So when you have a club like the Indians, I think you line yourself up with veteran pitchers. You know they'll get in shape, and you bring out tons of baseball so the hitters can take BP as long as they want.
Vizquel hitting 260 this spring, a 266 batter last year. 0-1 the count. Partly cloudy day in West Palm. It's supposed to get up to about 76. It's been a tough spring, really, because of the wind. Lined into right field. The Indians draw first blood. 1 run is in. They hold Vizquel at first, and they're on the corner. One nothing Indians.
First run allowed this spring by John Smoltz, and it's not so much the pitch as the location. Good break on that curveball, but it stayed right in the middle of the strike zone. Left our right-handers hardly ever missed that one. And the base hit by Alomar was a fastball he wanted inside. So John getting just a little bit too much of the strike zone in this inning.
By the way, where does Mike Hargrove go after he gets kicked out of a game here? There's no clubhouse. There's no tunnel to hide in. Strike on the corner, 0-1. He's lurking around down there someplace. McDowell, of course, doesn't swing the bat during the regular season, but he hit that ball sharply. And the fans battle for the souvenir.
What's that group called? The Swizzle Sticks?
Now I have to look it up again.
That's all right.
Released album with a musical group View entitled Extend Agenda. Group included former White Sox minor league pitcher Wayne Edwards and a former minor league pitcher Lee Plemmel. Also released EP Replace the Mind in 1992. And he's now a member of a group called Stick Figure. It's 1-0 Cleveland.
For that pitch. So he was ready to cover first base, and I was ready to throw. So things worked out pretty good.
I just see Javi getting ready to throw at first base, and I was right there. But, you know, Javi tells them all that, you know, it was the sign that he gave. And everything else. And so after the game, these reporters were coming up to me like, Fred, what about this sign that Javi gave you? Did you give the sign, or Javi gave the sign? I'm like, you know.
That's just a little tidbit.
Well, now you don't have to watch it. And Fred leads off the bottom of the second. Jack McDowell goes to work and misses outside. 1 ball, no strikes. By the way, the Braves have a World Championship celebration, the official luncheon honoring the world champions, to be held Thursday, April 4th at the Georgia World Congress Center Murphy Ballroom. Braves players, coaches will be there. Ted Turner, the owner of the Braves, as you know, will be the keynote speaker. Silent auction of Braves memorabilia begins at 11 in the morning. The luncheon program follow at noon. For more information, call 404-614-1367.
Benefits a great cause.
404-614-1367. Yeah, the Braves Foundation is the beneficiary. Hope to see you there. A ball and a strike to count. 1-0 Cleveland is our score. Downstairs. Braves are 12-7 for the year. Cleveland 15-11. Not that it matters much. The 2-1 pitch. Foul to home plate. It's 2-2. Nobody on, nobody out. Braves open against the Giants, as we mentioned, on Monday, off Tuesday. Giants in again Wednesday, Thursday night. Then the Cardinals, a very improved team over the weekend. And then the first road trip is to Los Angeles and San Diego. We have the monster, the Olympic road trip. Starts on the 17th with an off day. Then we go to Houston, St. Louis, San Francisco, San Diego, Los Angeles, and don't get back till early in the morning of August 5th.
Do we go to those cities prior to that long trip? I think we do earlier, don't we? Let's just leave a suitcase there the first time in.
I'll tell you what's pitiful. Fred hits it hard into right field. My definition of pitiful is a colorblind person like myself trying to pack for a 17-day road trip. I mean, I got no shot.
Well, you just have to have Paula do what Ned Yost's wife does. You number the outfits, and you match up the 1 with the 1, the 2 with the 2.
Yeah, that's what we'll have to do.
That's the Lawrence Welk style of dressing.
Well, we're going to be very dressy this year. So. David Justice stands in. David, with that bad shoulder, had a disappointing year. Double play ball. 6, 4, 3. Nicely handled by Vizquel and Baerga.
You're watching 2 of the classiest in the American League, maybe in all of baseball, in the middle of the diamond. Vizquel, long way, little backhanded flip. He's normally the guy that does all the bare hand antics, but a good play by Baerga, not only to catch the ball, but watch him get the bag and get out of the way. That's a good play. Those 2 can turn it.
Ryan Klesko, the batter, had a home run here a couple days ago against the Mets, who, by the way, are a good-looking team this year. Butch Husky has hit 7 home runs. If he comes through for him to add some power, they're going to be a factor.
That may be the only missing ingredient right now. Somebody in the middle of the lineup to hit some homers.
Ryan hitting 262 for the spring. chops that one foul. Pat Corrales will make the play and make a friend as he flips it into the seats.
You see Ryan's numbers for last year, but Skip, he's been struggling a little bit this spring, seemed to getting a feel for the strike zone. Not many walks, a lot of strikeouts. Still doesn't know where the strike zone is.
He hits that ball pretty well into right field. Back goes Ramirez. He gets all turned around. It's off the wall. He may hold him to a single. He tries for two. He is out, and the inning is over. Pretty good throw by Manny Ramirez. Bang, bang play at second, but Plesko is called out. So, 2 hits, but no runs, no errors, and nobody left. At the end of 2, Cleveland leads it 1-0. That's the way they're having us dressed for the Open this year.
Like you said, there are Nautilus centers and gyms everywhere, and I'm happy to say that the 4 of us take this as a year-round serious job.
That's exactly right.
I love your wardrobe.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, here we are. Oh, well. Kenny Lofton leads off the 3rd inning. Lofton called out on strikes in the 1st. And he better be hacking this time. 1 ball, no strikes. Nobody on, nobody out, 3rd inning. Don Sutton, Skip Carey with you. Pete and Joe will be along at the halfway point of the game. Lofton had a good cut, fouls it back. It's 1-1. The 1-1 pitch. Shortened the bunt, took it outside. 2 balls, 1 strike. Boy, this guy's a good-looking ball player, this Lofton. I like him a lot.
Well, he causes everybody to be on their toes. The infield has to move up.
2-2.
And there's no such thing as a routine grounder. In the left-handed batter's box, he's a step or 2 closer to first base. People say that he may be the fastest in the American League going from home to first, so you can see where the infielders have to be. Everybody has to cheat up a little and unload in a hurry for some forced bad throws.
Downstairs, full count. They got him from Houston in exchange for Willie Blair and Ed Taubensee back in 1991. Taubensee now with the Reds. Advantage Cleveland on that deal. Still 3-2.
A couple of hits against John Smoltz in Game 3 of the World Series. One of them a double. As a matter of fact, he, Baerga, and Vizquel 5 out of 6 against John.
He really fought that thing off and lashed it foul.
That's some good hitting. You have to have good bat control to be able to do that. A breaking ball that had him fooled, and he's thinking, I don't know that I really want to hit this fair. All I want to do is keep it out of the catcher's mitt and just kind of flicked it away to get another swing.
Didn't mean to. Might be trouble. Smoltz finally makes the play. A bad throw. We'll see how they score it. And he might be doing some running.
See, that's what we're talking about there. It doesn't have to be hit in a perfect spot. John here tries to force the play, grab it with his bare hand. Chances are if it's anybody else in this lineup running, he makes the glove play and takes his time and makes a good throw, but you can't afford to do that with Lofton.
Julio Franco, the batter, could be a throw or two to first base here. With this guy running, as we mentioned, he stole 54 bases last year. By the way, Don, I figured out what they should do about naming the stadium.
Yes.
Unless, you know, it's one of those corporate jobbies. Everybody's talking about Henry Aaron, and I can't argue with that, but I hope they don't forget the former mayor of Atlanta, Ivan Allen. Without him, we might not have any baseball or football or basketball. He was a tremendous influence. He and a banker named Mills Lane and former Governor Carl Sanders. But Ivan Allen in particular, I hope they don't forget him. And what a a delightful gentleman he is, too. 0-2 the count.
Oh, you can't ignore a guy like Lofton. You have to throw over there, but John Smoltz is doing one of the other things you can do to help yourself with a good base runner. That is throw some strikes to home plate. He's not wasting any time, not rushing his delivery, but he's ahead in the count. Put some pressure on that hitter if the guy at first is going to put some pressure on you.
Franco waits. Holds that bat high over his head. Close, but Lofton safe.
A lot of times a base runner will guess in a situation like this because you figure he's going to try for a strikeout. Smoltz a strikeout type pitcher. Most of them come on his breaking stuff. So if indeed John does go with a breaking ball, then it's a little bit of an advantage for the base runner.
He missed outside. It's 1-2. The 1-2, got him. He foul tipped it, but into the mid of Javi Lopez. 4 strikeouts for Smoltz and 1 out in the third.
4 straight pitches, 4 different times to the plate. John unloads in a hurry here. Puts a fastball with good velocity, good movement just off the plate. Perfect pitch.
Baerga, the batter.
See, the Kojak look is in baseball all around. Franco with his head shaved. Brad Klontz over on the Braves.
Pete.
His has been in for a while, though.
He's a trendsetter. Runner at first, 1 out. At the knees, 0-1.
Now, if Lofton wants to run, he has an added advantage in that Baerga is a left-handed hitter and will screen Javi Lopez a little. Javi will have to slide to his left before he can throw to second.
Pitch out, nothing happening. Baerga handles the bat well, too. You could hit and run with him.
Yeah, Fred's going to have to look real hard to be able to see Javi give that pickoff sign.
557 at-bats for Baerga last year. He struck out only 31 times. That throws on the other side of the bag. They had a shot at him there. Bit outside, 2-1. Well, our buddy Hal Galima, who has been our statistician for so many years and done such a wonderful job, I want to wish him well. He's resigned to take a position in coaching, pitching coach. I think it's at the South DeKalb College, DeKalb Junior College it is in Atlanta. And his place is being taken by a young man we know and like a lot, Phil Sivens, who used to work for the Braves PR department. We welcome him on board. He's got some big shoes to fill, but he'll do it. The 3-1 pitch. They play hit and run. Lofton doesn't know where the ball is. Now he picks up his third base coach. He'll score easily. Baerga is going to stay there. 2-0 Cleveland. A double off the glove of McGriff.
That's one of those, if he doesn't go, Fred probably makes this play, but when he takes off, Fred bounces way off the bag. It's a tricky hop off the glove. Lofton, even if he doesn't know where it is, once he picks up that third base coach, his speed is so good. Here he is now. He'll pick up the third base coach. Come on, there he goes. And he'll score easily.
He never had to extend. He just went on cruise control.
Toby Hara coaching down at third.
Bell takes the strike. He grounded to third his first time. You can see he's ready for the bell to ring. 0-2 the count.
One more thing about Lofton. You hear scouts talk about power and hitting for average, and they talk about pitchers with velocity. But the one constant that you always hear them say is that speed never goes into a slump. So a guy like Lofton, even if he's not hitting well, is going to keep pressure on the defense.
Low and away. A ball and 2 strikes. Started to go, laid off. 2-2 the count.
That's one John is glad that he took.
Mr. Bell is pretty well put together, isn't he? With all his much publicized problems, he is a guy who, without seeking publicity, has done a lot of good works, both down in Louisiana and in the Cleveland area. So there's a flip side to all the bad stuff you've heard. 3-2 the count.
But unfortunately, when you have things happen in your life that have happened in his and that he brings on himself, people wonder who is the real guy.
A multifaceted personality, I would guess. High pop. Remember that wind. It could get interesting. Grissom coming. Lemke going. Who's going to get it? Nobody. And runners will be at second and third. That was not a pretty sight.
What the infielders are going to have to do, both Blauser and Lemke, when that ball goes up in the shallow left center, right center, they're going to have to turn their back to the infield and play this ball like it's coming into them, which it really is. You can see Lemke got a little bit off. That was not his ball when it went up in the air, but it immediately became his ball. Some good hustle by Fred McGriff getting down to second base. He almost made it out at second possible. Once again, we got a man open and just couldn't get the ball to him. That's a good pattern by Lemke. That's a tough error to give.
Yeah, it really is. But I'm not going to get too upset about it. Jim Thome, the batter. I don't think Mark is going to remember that error when we play in San Diego on July 31st. But it did sort of look like we were a T-League team, didn't it? Look out. That's got your car written all over it, that line drive foul. 0-2.
They did a survey down here over the winter as to where most of the pop fouls went over in that area and moved my parking spot.
I believe it. I remember a couple years ago we did a night game, and I left before you did, and I was parked right next to you, and I came out, and you had a van, and a foul ball had broken the windshield. I was in hysterics.
You would be.
Good play by Javi.
One when I had the spider web all across
Yeah,
the front.
that was great. 1-2 the count. Second and third, one out, a run is in. It's 2-0. Thome walked his first time. Good pitch. And a big strikeout for Smoltz. He's having one of those schizophrenic games. He's struck out 5 in 2 2/3 innings, but given up 4 hits and 2 runs.
Good pitch. Good breaking ball. Starts it out down about knee high. Watch it go down. Thome swings right over the top of it to a left-handed hitter. That looks like it's down in the area where he likes it, but once it gets through breaking, it's out of the strike zone.
Manny Ramirez, the batter. Boy, there is no rest when you go down this Cleveland lineup. No automatic outs. Stevie. Brad Clontz, Greg McMichael, and Mark Wohlers are scheduled to work later in the day for Atlanta. Tom Glavine, by the way, is not going to start again until Thursday, his regular day, so he just missed the start with the flu. He feels much better today. threw on the side a little bit. He's had a great spring. His earned run average is a half run a game.
See, he can throw on the side again and build up his strength and then make his start. And he's so much better off missing this start and going the next one full strength than making one at half speed.
Check swing, but he laid off. 2 balls, 1 strike. The Marlins have had a tough spring of it. If they get the pitching, they'll be an improved club. But if anybody challenges the Braves in the Eastern Division, my guess would be New York. 3-1. Their young pitching, it's sort of disquieting. It reminds you of our staff in '91.
Well, as you so often say, the games are played on the field, but if you look at teams on paper, the Braves are head and shoulders on paper the best club in the National League. But suppose a guy that you're counting on doesn't have a good year, and suppose those young pitchers do have great years for the Mets.
And a guy like Husky steps forward and hits 30 home runs. All of a sudden, you got a horse race.
I still think the last week is going to see some deals pop up. I know the Mets, we read all the time they're looking for a bona fide, proven power hitter to stick in the middle of that lineup, but everybody wants one of those young phenom pitchers in return.
Ramirez fouls it away. 3-2 the count. Runners at second and third, 2 out. And a run in. Smoltz comes set, and the payoff pitch is en route. And the bases are loaded. Second walk of the day for John. And now he's got to get Sandy Alomar, who ripped the single to right his first time.
Got ahead in the count against Alomar, tried to finish him off the inside, left it out over the plate. Alomar, another one of those guys, if you allow him to extend the arms, he's better off. You put the ball in play, more a left center to right center type hitter.
Into left center field. The wind holds it up for Grissom, and the inning is over. A run scored on 2 hits. There was an error, and 3 runners are left. Bottom half of the third inning, 2-0. Cleveland leads Atlanta.
This telecast is authorized under broadcasting rights granted by the Atlanta National League Baseball Club and is intended solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any publication, rebroadcast, retransmission of the pictures or descriptions of this game without the express written consent of the Atlanta National League Baseball Club is strictly prohibited.
And that is the case for every game this year, so we don't have to
henceforth and forevermore.
Yeah. Javi Lopez leads it off. Javi, a .315 batter last year with 14 homers. He's having a hot spring, .389. Jack McDowell goes to work. Ground ball to short as Kell digs it out. Lollipop throw, but he got him 1 down.
Remember, he used to make those kind of throws. Brooks Robinson. I don't care if you had the fastest guy in the league running or a catcher, Gus Triandos, he would get him by a half step.
To make it exciting. The Lemmer stands in. Mark's had his troubles this spring. He's been hampered a little bit by the flu, hitting just .219. Steve Rank. 0-1 the count. Oh, and 2. We're not exactly zipping along here today. A ball and 2 strikes, the count.
Veteran pitcher, sometimes in spring training, you'll go through your repertoire in the first couple of innings, and you'll reach an inning like this where you may just throw all breaking balls. First 3 to Lemke have been.
Ground ball up the middle. That's going to sneak through for a hit. Third Atlanta safety of the day. Runner at first, 1 out. Smoltz will hit for himself or bunt for himself. We shall see.
Yeah, early in the ball game, you try to get one. You'll trade the out to get Lemke in the scoring position and try to get Grissom there, top of the batting order. This is another area where the Braves starting pitchers really help themselves. For the most part, they are all good bunters and really work at it.
John gets it down, but bunts it foul. 0-1 the count. 2-4 and 0 for Cleveland. 0-3 and 1 for Atlanta. That almost picked off Julio Franco.
Well, sometimes you do that as a pitcher. You make a sudden move to see if the hitter is going to tip off if he's bunting. Jack McDowell immediately turned to Tomey, and Tomey nodded yes, so he's looking for Smoltz to bunt again.
And he will. And he does. And it's a good bunt. The only play will be to first. 1-4 over there. Smoltz does his job. Runner in scoring position with 2 out. And a 2-out hit is needed for Marquise Grissom, who flied to right to start the game.
Number 9, center fielder Marquise Grissom.
This game being televised back to Cleveland as well and broadcast back there. So we've got capacity only in the press box today. There's a guy who was a great pitcher whose career was tragically cut short. Herb Score. Downstairs, 1 ball, no strikes.
You hear stories about him and his ability, and they speak of him in the same awe and reverence as people do Sandy Koufax. They say that he could have been that dominating and was for a short span of time. What a good guy. He's been with the Indians now and a part of their broadcast team for a long time.
It was Gil McDougall of the Yankees who hit the line drive that hit him in the face. Downstairs, 2 balls, no strikes. McDowell, like many American leaguers, very deliberate. But he can pitch. Pops away, but not far enough for Lemke to advance. He thought about it. Alomar reacted quickly. 3-0 the count. You know, Bobby Cox loves to turn his hitters loose in this spot.
If you're an offensive ball player and you don't want to play, hey, we found him.
Yep, that's where he's hiding. Took off his uniform shirt. Line, 3-0. They turned him loose. But he hit it right at him, and the inning comes to a close. 1 hit, no runs. No errors, 1 left. We've played 3, and Cleveland leads 2-0. We go to the 4th inning here. Omar Vizquel will lead things off. There's a guy headed for the Hall of Fame, Eddie Murray. Greg McMichael begins to throw in the Atlanta bullpen. Speaking of the Hall of Fame, Don, I know you do. I don't want to belabor the point because it's so ridiculous, but I'm sorry. You should be there. Phil Niekro should be there, and everybody doesn't know it, but an awful lot of people do. Hang in there. It'll happen. 1 pitch, 1 out. Vizquel grounds to short.
I thank you for your sentiments, and normally don't respond to it, but I would like to say that never in my life have I received as much mail, phone calls, and statements like yours from people. I have received well over 1,000 letters and phone calls, and I appreciate it from you and from all of the folks who were kind enough to express those sentiments. Thank you very much.
Here's McDowell. He was called out on strikes his first time. Well, you shouldn't be embarrassed, but the people who vote, the Baseball Writers Association of America, I think a lot of them ought to be. Uh-oh. They found our weakness, a fly ball. And the wind just takes it out of any possible play. It is blowing a gale from left field, cross field, toward the right field stands.
A lot of the Braves minor leaguers who've gotten their work in, go down in the bullpen and watch the game. There is so much to be said for having all your minor leaguers and major leaguers in one area, in one facility.
If anything can be learned from observation, then it obviously can. Some minor league guys are getting an education. What do you think about this new strike zone thing? I think it's all a sham,
Well,
to be honest with you.
You've heard me say it before. There are 5 strike zones in effect every time a pitcher throws a pitch.
See ya. 2 out.
Pitcher has one that he sees. The catcher has one that he sees. A hitter knows one. There's one in the book, and then the umpire is going to call his perception of the way the rule is written. And I think if you change it, what are you changing? An inch and a half or 2 inches there? I don't think it's going to make any difference. Low ball umpires are going to continue to call the low strike. High ball umpires are going to continue to call the high strike. So it's much ado about nothing.
I'm a proponent of the high ball umpires myself.
Somehow I knew that would be the case.
Here's that man again. Kenny lost it. He's batting far too often in this game. It's his 3rd time around. We're in the 4th. It's almost like the criminology classes where they first the pitch. To prove how difficult it is to witness something, they'll have a guy break in the middle of a lecture and shoot a blank at the professor, and he will collapse, feigning death. And the guy runs out of the room, and then they have everybody write up
what you saw.
Yeah, and it's amazing how different they are. Strike zones are like that, I guess. The 0-2. Out of play.
And I think if you poll most of the players, they really didn't raise an eyebrow over the change. All they ask for in an umpire is what you're calling in the 1st inning, 1st pitch, call it in the 9th inning. Stay consistent all the way through, and then they can make the adjustments. The hitters will make the adjustment, and so will the pitchers.
The 0-2 pitch. Foul tipped. It didn't mean to, but the ball hit the bat. Smoltz has 7 strikeouts in 4 innings, but the Braves trail 2-0. We go to the bottom half of the 4th inning. Jeff Blauser will lead it off. That's Christy Brinkley, the model-type lady.
Working on the other side of the camera down here, taking some pictures for our line of baseball cards.
Blauser leads it off against McDowell. He grounded to 3rd his first time, and he pops one up that may get out of play as the wind grabs it, and it does. 0-1.
I know this is going to come as no surprise to you, but it is absolutely the most cooperative I have seen players be with a photographer in years.
I would rather think so. 0-1 the count. 2-0 Cleveland, our score. One and one the count. See, Cleveland has got sort of a funny schedule. They go to Nashville on Thursday and play. Atlanta on Friday and play. Somewhere Saturday and play. I forget where. And then they go to Columbus Sunday.
Right.
And open Monday at home against the Yankees. That's Columbus, Ohio. Might be a little brisk.
Barnstorming their way north.
Then the Red Sox come to our place on Saturday.
Boy, do they have some heavy artillery.
Ooh. Vizquel unloads in a hurry. 1 out. Ed Giovanola, the batter, he popped up his first time to the shortstop. A lot of people here today, and we're going to show you all of them.
Cameraman with too much time on his hands.
Well, the game is going at a rather slow pace. McDowell goes to work. Strike over the outside corner. Among those gathered here, son Chip, who does NBA games in Orlando and on TNT and is going to be part of the Fox Network baseball broadcast team, which hopefully will lead to him being able to support me in my declining years.
You have spoken of that often.
Yes. Seems only right. I supported him. But we can't find him. We'll find him before the day's over. The pitch. Here's the strength. 1-2. Talking with Dave Winfield. He was here the other day. He's going to be involved with Fox, too. He's going to do a great job for them. Very articulate gentleman.
Working out of the studio, right?
Little tap to first. Franco takes care of that. 2 down for Fred McGriff. Fred singled his first time. Not a whole lot happening here, frankly. There are a lot of cliches in baseball, one of which is a guy's a student of hitting. But in this fellow's case, that's exactly what he is. He really works hard at his trade.
I remember when they had Tony Gwynn and him back-to-back in that San Diego batting order, and there are no two in any lineup back-to-back who work harder at being good at it than they do.
Let's see if the wind plays tricks. Bell has it. And McDowell works an easy inning. He breezes through the 4th. At the end of 4, your score, Cleveland 2, Atlanta nothing. We go to the 5th. As we mentioned earlier, all the tickets sold for the year in Cleveland. What happens to the ticket department after that happens?
They don't have to write any more promos.
Pitch is low, 1 ball, no strikes. Which reminds me, I'm glad you brought that up.
Do the one about the magnetic schedule weekend.
That's a
that
good
is
idea.
my favorite promotion.
That's my
I love
my
that.
friends at Georgia Power. I'll be happy to do that in just a moment. Tapped right back where it came from. Good play by Smoltz. He reacted nicely to that ball. 1 out. Braves and Georgia Power, proud to bring you a magnetic schedule. How am I doing? Easy for me to say. Magnetic schedule weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, April 5th, 6th, and 7th, when the Cardinals are in town. First 45,000 fans to enter the gates receive a magnetic schedule. Compliments of Georgia Power. For tickets, call 404-249-6400 or 1-800-326-4000.
They need to amend that copy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Carlos Baerga's in fact.
First 45,000 gets what's left after you, Joe, and I go through this.
That's true. Just slap those babies up on the refrigerator and you're set for the summer. The 0-1 pitch. Down and in. Baerga has struck out and doubled in a run. That was a hit-and-run double off the glove of a diving Fred McGriff. Back in the 3rd. We are now in the 5th.
That's John's second off-speed pitch. He throws a circle change, but he's been tinkering around with a split-finger fastball, and every now and then, when he doesn't overthrow it, just makes a nice, comfortable delivery. He gets good movement, good location. That was a dandy right there.
Tapper, Smoltz will have to cover. McGriff feeds it. And an easy second out. Can't beat fun at the old ballpark.
Big barbecue grills here today, too.
A cold one and a...
Cooking up some mighty small pieces of meat on those little big old grills.
Boy, the prices here for concession. Woo. Well, we're up. The pitch. I think it's about time for us to go to radio, buddy. 0-1 the count to Albert Bell. Dan Reagan, our director today. The ever perspicacious Glenn Diamond is our producer.
What?
At least that.
Flirtatious? I really have never seen him sweat much.
Oh, you should have seen him running around the field before the game. He looked like a banshee.
There's a former manager of the Cleveland Indians.
If Angel Hernandez saw him, I think he'd pretend like he didn't. Who needs any more? Up the middle. Can Blauser get there? He does. And Smoltz breezes through the fifth. Pete Van Weer and Joe Simpson join you now after 4.5. It's 2-0 Cleveland.
David Justice stands in against Jack McDowell. The Tribe on top 2-0. And Justice fouls off the first pitch. A little different feel to today's ball game, Pete, than a normal spring training game.
Almost like it was a continuation of the World Series from a year ago with a manager ejected. There's a couple of controversial plays already. We're only in the fifth inning.
I think there's a little more spark in this game for all the guys that you don't normally see in spring training. McDowell has been sharp. He's allowed only 3 hits. Make it 4. That ball blistered to center field. David Justice leads off the inning, brings the tying run to the plate. Ryan Klesko, who hit one off the wall back in the second inning, but was thrown out at second on a great throw by Manny Ramirez, as Ryan was trying to stretch it into a double. You see Ryan's numbers this spring, however, 12 strikeouts and no walks in 43 at-bats. Takes one high.
And the extra base hits were slow in coming. He didn't pick up his first extra base hit until earlier this week, and then he finally got his first home run against the Mets a couple of days ago.
Well, he blistered that ball his first at-bat today, and maybe with the home run and the long drive off the wall today, he might be coming around. 1-1 for McDowell. Jack McDowell looks like he's ready to start the season. He's been sharp. Nice stop by Alomar. That ball bounced about 3 feet in front of home plate.
And that's something Alomar will have to get used to, and he's catching McDowell. Anybody that throws that split finger pitch that often, every now and then will overthrow one. And that's the result.
Sandy has something on the back of his left shin guard that I've never seen before. It's a pad that's attached to the straps on his shin guard that keeps him from getting into too deep of a crouch on that left knee. That's hit hard to center field. Lofton with great speed, though, and the wind helping him out a little bit, able to track it down. And Justice has to scamper back to first. It's another hard-hit ball by Klesko, but he comes up empty because that guy can go get him.
There's what you were talking about, Joe, that guard on the back of his calf almost, but what it does is it serves as a cushion when he goes into the crouch.
He's had 3 different surgeries on that left knee.
All in the last 4 years.
93, he had surgery for a ruptured disc in his back. 91 on the DL for rotator cuff, broken finger, and a hip flexor injury. He's got a hard time staying healthy. Here's Lopez. Bobby looks at the strike, grounded out to short his first time up today. Having a good spring, though. McDowell won 15 games for the Yankees last year, as I'm sure Skip and Don told you. With this lineup, not that the Yankees are any slouch, but with this lineup, he's got a good shot at 20 if he can stay healthy. Off the end of the bat, Vizquel has to hurry, but has a good arm, and his only play is at first. Justice in scoring position for Mark Lemke.
And we should see the same matchup, Jack McDowell against John Smoltz when the Indians come to Atlanta for that exhibition game Friday night at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium.
A full house today here at Municipal Stadium. Off-speed breaking ball misses. 1-0. John Smoltz worked 5 innings, and he's supposed to be on deck, but Tyler Houston has a bat. he would hit for Smoltz if Lemke can reach. A little low.
Yeah, Smoltz was hoping to go 6 or 7 innings today, but he's already thrown 95 pitches in the first 5, and that's a lot of pitches for this early in the game.
That would be probably a number he would like to throw in Atlanta in his last start. So he's really extended it today. On the corner, 2-1. Mark singled his first time up today. He's now 8 for 33 this spring. Hits that ball hard, but Baerga's there. And an easy play. Leaves it runner in scoring position here as we go to the 6th inning. So the Indians still on top. Each side has 4 hits. Tribe lead at 2-0.
And as we go to the top half of the 6th inning, time to take a look at today's Budweiser game summary. John Smoltz through for the day now after 5 innings. Jack McDowell has worked 5 innings. Carlos Baerga, a double and an RBI. And Mike Hargrove ejected from the game in the 1st inning.
Started off like World Series atmosphere. Greg McMichael on now for his 6th appearance of the spring. No record, a 3 ERA, 6 innings, 5 hits. He's allowed 3 runs, 2 were earned, but no walks and 6 strikeouts on the spring. And he will face Jim Thome, Manny Ramirez, and then Sandy Alomar for Cleveland. McMichael's first delivery is in there for a strike.
Greg had an interesting winter. He went down to Australia. He's very active in the baseball chapel with the Atlanta Braves, and he went down to Australia this winter. They have their baseball league there, and he helped establish a baseball chapel service for the Australian Baseball League.
Very active in that. 0-1 pitch is a little bit low. Kick Lighter, our high first cameraman, having some fun today in the sunshine. McMichael delivers a strike. Thome with a walk and a strikeout. Good pitch down and in. Did Thome go around? The appeal down to Mark Barron, and he says he did not go around, so it's 2-2. Michael made 3 appearances against Cleveland in the World Series. Gave up 1 earned run in 3 1/3 innings. Pitch just missed.
Every year, every spring, there is one story that emerges totally unexpectedly. That was the case with Greg McMichael about 3 years ago, and he came out of nowhere to earn a spot in the bullpen. And the guy that was in the on-deck circle when the bottom half of the 5th inning ended has been that story this year, Tyler Houston. A player that was on the 40-man roster, but out of options and really had not done much.
Struck him out on the payoff pitch. Thome down on strikes for the 2nd time. McMichael gets off to a good start.
Tyler had never lived up to his being picked number 1 by the Braves the year he did. He's been 7 years in the organization, but he has had an outstanding spring, and it looks like he's made the ball club as a left-hand hitter off the bench.
You would have to think that he's made somebody's ball club. If the Braves decide not to keep him as well as he's played this spring, somebody's going to take him off the Braves' hands because he would have to clear waivers to go back to the minor leagues. Here's Manny Ramirez. He takes one down low. Ramirez today aboard on a fielder's choice and scored the first run of the game back in the 2nd inning on an RBI hit by Vizquel, and he's drawn a walk. Strong right-handed hitter, and we showed you his strong right arm earlier when he threw out Ryan Klesko from the wall in right field, trying to stretch a hit into a double. 2-1.
Brad Klontz is up now in the Atlanta bullpen, so this may be the only inning McMichael works today. That's been the pattern the last few days for Bobby Cox to have the starting pitcher go 5, 6, or 7 innings and then work
a series of relief pitchers, 1 inning each. Strike from McMichael evens the count at 2-2. Yeah, you think about it, they really haven't had much work here early, with McMichael having thrown only 6 innings. Clance has worked 2 more than that. Well, a couple reasons for that. First of all, the weather problems that they had down here early on. Once the games got started, there were some rainouts that took some innings away. Number 2, because the Braves are pretty much a set ball club going into spring training, this is the first year I can recall where no split squad games or B games were scheduled at all. Just the regular games were played, so there haven't been as many opportunities. In some cases, some of these pitchers have gone to the minor league camp and worked an inning or 2 in one of the minor league games. Walked him on the payoff pitch there. First walk issued by McMichael. John Smoltz worked 5 innings, gave up 4 hits and 2 runs. They were both earned. He walked 2 and struck out 7. But basically, this camp began with 22 of the 25 spots on the opening day roster already set. Yeah, and you would assume that Bobby's going to get both Clance and McMichael and probably Pedro Borbon a few more innings this week. Right. Getting them ready for the season opener a week from tomorrow. Sandy Alomar has singled and flied out. The Indians last year, number 1 in the American League in hitting, number 1 in runs scored, number 1 in homers, and number 1 in stolen bases. But number 2 in the World Series. That they were. A lot of folks forecasting these same 2 ball clubs to be back at it in October. I'd settle for that. Take my chances. Alomar takes high. 2-0 Cleveland, top of the 6th inning. New third base coach for the Indians, Toby Hara, back in a Cleveland uniform after spending some time there as a player. The 1-0 pitch, a little low. He was the manager at Norfolk, the Mets AAA club last year. That'll be managed by Bobby Valentine this year. And one of Bobby's coaches at Norfolk this year will be Bruce Benedict, who was managing in the Braves organization up until this season. One of Bobby's players in Japan last year was Julio Franco, who's now at first base for Cleveland. 2-0 pitch. Outside, 3-0. It's unusual to see McMichael having control problems. Yeah, he went to a full count on Tommy before striking him out. Walked Ramirez on a full count. And now 3-0 to Alomar. And he's taking all the way, 3-1. Cleveland won their division last year by 30 games. They won 100. They lost only 44. Ramirez running on the pitch. Alomar fouls it off, and again, we are going to have a full count. They're heavily favored to win their division again. I don't think they'll win it by that much again, though. The Chicago White Sox, very much improved ball club. Kansas City expected to be a little bit better this year. But Cleveland still should be an easy victor in the AL Central. Ramirez had 6 stolen bases last year, and he'll probably be running again. He has a good lead at first, and he is going. The payoff pitch bounced down the third base line. Tough play for Giovanola, who lets it roll, and that's the only thing he could do. A swinging bunt hit for for Sandy Alomar, as Manny Ramirez stops at second. Second hit on the day for Alomar, number 5 for the Indians. First and second and 1 out for Omar Vizquel, who won his 3rd straight Gold Glove last year. The first Indian shortstop in their history to win a Gold Glove. And he's had a good spring, 1 for 2 today, and drove in his 10th run of spring training. He shows bunt, pulls the bat back. A ball and no strikes. We should point out that the Gold Glove award has not yet been established when Lou Boudreau was playing for Cleveland. Or he'd have had a stash. Jack McDowell is in the on-deck circle. And Vizquel pops one up. Mile high in shallow right field. Justice comes in.
and makes the catch. That's been a problem for the Braves today on those high, shallow pop flies, but Justice makes that play. And there's 2 down in the inning, and McDowell will hit for himself and work another inning. McDowell fanned twice against John Smoltz. Michael from the stretch fires a strike. Greg, 6'3", 215, out of Knoxville, Tennessee. Went to the University of Tennessee. Makes his home now in Alpharetta, Georgia. The 0-1 to McDowell is high. McDowell, as I'm sure Don and Skip told you, the 3rd most wins in the major leagues in the 90s, second only to Maddox's 105. Glavin's 102. McDowell is 198 this decade. 1-2 the count.
And like Maddox and Glavin, a very durable pitcher. You can count on him for over 200 innings just about every year. In fact, he's had a string of years where he's done that, except for the strike year, 94. He's pitched over 200 innings every year since 1990.
And the 1-2 pitch got him. McDowell has the hat trick. McMichael is out of some trouble here in the 6th inning. No runs, a hit, 2 left. We go to the bottom half of the 6th. 2-0 Cleveland.
It's the best I've ever seen. Really well done.
You're really going to get some good insight into what was going through the thoughts of the players as the World Series and playoffs were going on last year. Well, here's this story you were talking about, Peters. Tyler Houston. He's going to pinch in for McMichael. Houston hitting .481 this spring, 13 for 27. Sends a hot shot to second. Baerga has it on one hop and throws him out. Houston with 5 doubles, 2 homers, 6 RBIs.
And an indication that Bobby Cox is seriously considering taking him north is the fact that he's playing a lot of different positions right now. He's been catching, he's been playing some first base, and with Chipper Jones out of the lineup, he's even played some third base this week.
Back to the top of the order, and Marquise Grissom. And a stadium record here today. Braves spring training record at Municipal Stadium. 8,516 folks on hand for this rematch. Marquise today is flying to right, and he is lined right on the nose. He lined one right at Omar Vizquel at short. In the dirt, 2-0. Marquise 12 hits and 49 at bats this spring, a double and a triple. He's stolen 3 bases. Hits that ball hard, and it's slicing deep toward right field, but Ramirez on the run makes the catch right at the track. Nice play again by Manny Ramirez. Grissom's hit the ball hard twice and nothing to show for it. Here's Blauser. Jeff 0 for 2 with a couple of ground outs.
I think Jeff may be headed toward a pretty good comeback year. He's been hitting the ball with authority to the opposite field. And when he does that, you know he's feeling comfortable at the plate.
It's that ball hard, but in the air, and it's not going to go anywhere in this wind. And Kenny Lofton in his tracks has it. And another 1-2-3 inning for McDowell, who has now thrown 6 strong innings and has allowed no runs on 4 hits. We go to the 7th, 2-0 Cleveland.
The Braves are in 1998, and here's kind of a sneak preview look at what the new facility is going to be. One of the finest spring training facilities ever. In conjunction with the Disney folks, the Braves will have a brand new spring training home up in Orlando in 1998. Well, we're in the 7th inning. Kenny Lofton drops a bunt down the third baseline. They're going to let it roll, and it rolls and rolls and stays fair. It looked like it was going to spin off into foul territory, but then took a little bit of a right turn away from the foul line, and Kenny Lofton has himself a bunt single.
That was perfect. Absolutely perfect. You are taught when you push it down the third baseline, make it either foul or a base hit.
See, when it kicked off the lip of the grass there, looked like it might roll foul, but then it hit the foul line and
Chalk
came
held
right back
it.
into fair territory.
He did a great job, too, of staying in the box to push it in the right spot. He wasn't running before he bunted it.
Lofton's second hit of the day. This one coming off Brad Klontz, the third Atlanta pitcher. You see his numbers for the spring. And the batter Julio Franco, who's fly to right, struck out and bounced back to the pitcher. Outside to Franco, ball 1. 2-0, Indians leading it. We're in the top half of the 7th. Pete Van Weer and Joe Simpson with you on a beautiful day here in West Palm Beach. Nobody out. Lofton at first. He's chased back. 54 stolen bases for Lofton last year. He's had 6 already this spring.
Pete, with all due respect to the rest of their guys in their lineup, as great a season as they had, the guy that scared me the most in the World Series and the guy I was most impressed with was Lofton.
It's very rare. There goes Lofton. The pitch is fouled back in the count 1-1. Very rare to see a team that has as much power as Cleveland has also have the kind of speed they have. A lot of times your powerful major league teams are built around the 3-run home run, and they don't even try to steal many bases. You can look at the Red Sox as a good example of that. They've always had good offensive teams and don't run very much up there. But the Indians can score both ways.
And this guy is an MVP candidate, in my view, this year for Cleveland, because he does so many things well and sets the table for all their big hitters.
1 ball, 1 strike, the count on Franco with Lofton at first. The Indians have really been on a roll of late. They beat the Phillies yesterday 8-1. They beat Florida 2 days ago 5-1. 3 days ago they beat Toronto 6-5. 4 days ago they beat Detroit 20-3. The day before that they beat the Cardinals 9-6. They've been averaging 9 runs a game this week. 2-1 the count now on Franco.
And if you want to go to Jacobs Field and buy a ticket for a ball game, you can forget it. At least not at the ticket windows.
That's right. They are sold out for the year. Nobody out. Lofton getting a good-sized lead at first. The throw gets by Fred McGriff, and Kenny Lofton might go all the way around to third on this one. He will. McGriff finally comes up with it down toward the bullpen, throws toward the plate, but Lofton, meantime, has sprinted all the way from first around to third on the error by Klontz.
Once again, the threat of a stolen base draws a bad throw, and it was an awful throw, one that Fred couldn't even get leather on.
And there is so much foul territory here at Municipal Stadium that when something like that happens, it's almost a cinch that the runner's going to get around to third. The infield in now for Atlanta as the count goes to 2-1 on Franco. Klontz delivers the 2-1, fouled away, and that evens the count on Franco, 2-2.
We've talked a lot about Gary Sheffield in the last couple of years, about his batting stance and his unusual way of holding the bat in his stance. Franco, not a whole lot unlike that, but like Gary Sheffield, once the pitch is about to be delivered, he gets his hands in a more conventional position to hit the ball. They come down a little bit.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Franco. In the air to center. Marquise Grissom there for the catch. Tagging at third is Lofton. Here comes Grissom's throw home. He'll never get it. And the Indians now lead it 3-0 on a sac fly to center by Franco.
We were talking about the different feel of this ball game from the very beginning today. No changes in the lineup for either side yet. Pitching changes, yes, but everybody's staying in there today, getting a little extra work in, an extra at bat. I think there's a lot of pride on the line.
Yeah, every now and then a game like this will pop up on the spring training schedule. It means a little more to each side than just another Grapefruit League ball game. Bayerga takes a strike in the outside corner, 0-1. He's 1 for 3 and a run-scoring double back in the third.
And as a player at this time of spring training, Pete, you welcome a game like this. Gets the fires burning a little bit more and gets you more in line for what it's going to be like for the regular season.
Here's the 0-1. Missing outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, you'll get to see this again next Friday night in Atlanta when the Indians and Braves hook up. And the Red Sox are also going to be in town on Saturday to wrap up the spring training schedule in Atlanta. And then Monday, April 1st, it all starts for real against the Giants. The Monday afternoon game. Here's the 1-1 way outside. The count goes to 2-1. Brad Klontz sporting a new look this year, the Kojak look. We'll have next Friday's game for you here on TBS, 7:05 Eastern Time. Should be the same matchup as we told you, Smoltz against McDowell.
Brad Clout said, I didn't have much up there anyway, so I just decided to go for that Kojak style. Foul away, and it's 2-2.
That reminds me, did you see the cover of this week's Sports Illustrated with Jay Buhner of the
Yes.
Mariners and his son biting on a bat?
Yep.
Great picture and a great story if you haven't read it.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Carlos Baerga. See if it'll stay in play for Giovanola in foul territory. As we mentioned, a lot of room to roam in foul ground here. And Giovanola gets to it for out number 2. And that will bring up Albert Bell, who's 0 for 3 in the afternoon. He did reach on an error back in the 3rd. Has grounded out his other 2 times.
Saw an interview with Albert Bell this morning before I came to the ballpark. He was talking about how upsetting it is that, you know, he goes along and does 100 good things, and then he does one bad thing that overshadows all the good things you never hear about. The trouble is, his bad things have been so overwhelming, it's what causes all the attention.
0-1 the count on Bell. Not only a great hitter, but a great student of hitting. If you watch us during the regular season, whenever we play San Diego, we're always talking about Tony Gwynn and how he studies tapes of his at-bats against various pitchers before a ball game. Bell, the same sort of preparation over in the American League. Here's the 1-1, and it's grounded foul back toward the screen. 1-2.
Charlie Manuel, the hitting coach for the Indians, told me last year during the series that he does not want to be bothered when he is getting ready for a ball game, going over his tapes. Charlie said he's very dedicated, and I think his results bear that out.
1-2 the count. Outside corner, strike 3 called. Clance records the strikeout, and that's it for Cleveland, but they pick up an unearned run and go to the bottom half of inning 7, leading Atlanta 3-0. Seventh inning stretch here at Municipal Stadium. Take Me Out to the Ball Game, sung by a youngster, and a little coaching help from Jimmy Williams. When they arrived out there at the third base coaching box, the kid had forgotten some of the words.
Jimmy had to spur him on just a little bit, and that was great.
Meanwhile, Ed Giovanola on the first pitch hit a roller to first baseman Julio Franco for out number 1 here in the bottom of the 7th. Now Fred McGriff, who is single and fly to left, takes a strike. Jack McDowell still out there for his 7th inning. He's been very efficient. He's still only thrown 61 pitches in this game. Breaking ball is low, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Like I said earlier, he's ready for the season to begin.
And he had not been pitching that well so far this spring until today. He was 0-2 with an ERA of over 5. But he's done it today. That ball hit right back up the middle. There's Vizquel on the edge of the grass in shallow center field to throw him out. This guy is one of the all-time best shortstops.
Absolutely, Pete. I had the privilege of watching him play when he first broke in with the Mariners. And people kept saying, well, he makes the flashy play, but will he make the routine play? He makes them all, folks. He has a good arm and a pair of great hands. That one almost got McDowell, but Vizquel there to back him up. Great range, good arm, good hands.
2 gone. That'll bring up David Justice, who is hit into a double play and single. Justice all of last year only grounded into 5 double plays. He has grounded into 3 double plays this spring. Takes a strike at the knees, the count 0-1. McDowell is now retired 8 in a row.
Has not walked a batter today.
Nor has he struck out one, oddly enough. Here's the 0-1. Little tapper. Another 1-2-3 inning in store for McDowell as he throws out David Justice.
He may go 8.
He has retired 9 straight. We go to the 8th inning, 3-0 Cleveland. We go to the 8th inning here at Municipal Stadium, West Palm Beach, Florida, with Cleveland leading at 3-0. We have some changes for the Braves. The first changes of the day made as Jack McDowell has kept the Braves shut down to this point. Pedro Borbon is the new Atlanta pitcher. We have a new first baseman, Aldo Pecorilli, and we have a new right fielder, Jermaine Dye. Pedro Borbon making his 7th appearance of the spring. Been a good one for him. 2 runs and 5 hits allowed in 7 innings. And on one pitch, he's going to have 1 out here in the top of the 8th as he throws out Jim Thome. If there's ever a case, Joe, of a player where one game can turn around a career and open some new opportunities to a player, that is probably true of Pedro Borbon after that dramatic World Series appearance last year.
You know, it was so impressive because the Braves desperately needed him. And it was a night after Wohlers had worked 3 innings in an extra inning contest. Comes back the next night. Mark was a little short, didn't have much in the fuel tank that night. Got knocked around a little bit, gave up a home run. Borbon comes in, though, and does the job and picked up the Atlanta Braves in a game they needed to win in Cleveland.
0-1 the count on Manny Ramirez, who has walked a couple of times and hit into a force play, takes a strike 0-2. And because of that one appearance, because he hadn't pitched in such a long time going into that game, but proving what he could do under the pressure of a World Series situation like that, Pedro Borbon is now the left-hander, the key left-hander in the Braves bullpen for the upcoming year.
Confidence is a marvelous thing, and as soon as you not only gain confidence in yourself, but gain the respect and confidence of your manager, does wonders for your whole approach to the way you pitch, your aggressiveness.
Strike 3 call in the outside corner.
And the willingness then, once you know that you can come from behind to get a hitter, to finish him off.
And by the way, stick around after the game for the hour-long special on the Braves' historic 1995 season, because you will hear Pedro Borbon talking about what that opportunity meant to him.
Our guys did such a good job putting that together. Scott Cockrell, Howard Feinberg, our coordinating producer, Glenn Diamond, and so many others. But it is absolutely an outstanding piece.
Alomar pops up the first pitch. Lopez may have a play over near the dugout. Nope, it lands on the roof and bounces up into the crowd. Record-setting crowd today of 8,516. 0-1 the count on Alomar. He's 2 out of 3 in the afternoon, a pair of singles and a fly ball to center. Mark Wohlers begins loosening up now in the Atlanta bullpen. The 0-1 on the way. Fly ball pretty well hit right center field. Marquise Grissom and David Justice converging. Or I should say Jermaine Dye, who just checked into the game, and it's Jermaine Dye making the catch. And it's a 1-2-3 inning for Pedro Borbon. Indians go in order in the top of the 8th. We go to the bottom half. Still 3-0 Cleveland. 3-0 Indians as we go to the bottom half of the 8th inning. Ryan Klesko will lead it off against Jack McDowell pitching into the 8th inning. We have a new shortstop, Alvaro Espinoza. Takes over for Omar Vizquel, and here's Klesko, who has one of the 4 hits allowed by McDowell. I don't think any pitcher that I've noticed in the box scores, Joe, has worked into the 8th inning this spring.
I can't recall any.
Longest stint for any pitcher all spring for any team. But he has been superb, and he's 0-1 now on Klesko. He's still only thrown 66 pitches. We're in the 8th inning. He's retired 9 straight. Ground ball up the middle. That's going to get through. Base hit center field. Ryan Klesko, 2 out of 3 in the afternoon. Hit number 5 allowed by McDowell.
4 of the 7 innings he had worked coming into this inning, he had retired the side in order and faced only 3 batters in the 2nd inning. Even though he gave up 2 hits that inning, he only faced 3.
Mike Hargrove, in case you joined us late, ejected from the game in the 1st inning in a dispute with plate umpire Angel Hernandez.
Yeah, it's a long day to spend in that tunnel trying to watch a game in spring training.
We have a pinch runner. That's Mike Warner, a minor leaguer borrowed by the Braves today. Running for Klesko. Lopez winds one to center field. Warner down to second. And runners are now at first and second with nobody out, and back-to-back singles by Klesko and Lopez. And that will get their bullpen up. Number 50 is Julian Taveras. He's the right-hander. The lefty might be Brian Anderson, who they just acquired from the California Angels in a trade for Jason Grimsley. He was scheduled to be one of the pitchers today. Mark Wiley, the pitching coach, out to have a chat now with Jack McDowell. Is pitching into his 8th inning, but again, he's thrown only 68 pitches. They don't want to overextend any pitcher in spring training, and they're going to just ask for some honest answers here. Lemke will be the batter. Runners first and second, nobody out.
Yeah, McDowell has done what they wanted to see today. As you pointed out, not a real good spring for him to this point, but he has certainly earned his stripes today, and they don't want it to turn sour.
Lemke 1 for 2 in the afternoon. Fouled off at the plate. The count 0-1 on Mark. Now Lemke today hitting in the number 8 spot in the order with Jeff Blauser batting second. That's been kind of a back-and-forth situation all spring. I don't know as though Bobby has made up his mind yet. If he has, he's not telling anyone about how he intends to go once the regular season starts. He may just go with a hot hand second. Whoever's got the bat going the best at the particular time, he knows he's got 2 guys who can hit in that spot. And if Blauser's hot with a bat, he may leave him there. If Lemke is having a hot streak, he may move Mark up there.
Yeah, and both guys could make that adjustment pretty easy, I think.
There's nothing in any manager's code that says you have to put somebody in there and leave them there all year. Out of play to the left, the count on Lemke goes to 1-2. Both will tell you they'd prefer to hit in the number 2 spot.
I think Mark's more aggressive when he hits second. I think when he's batting 8th, he's trying to be patient because he knows they're going to pitch around him a lot with the pitcher batting behind him. And he has a tendency to take maybe a few more pitches. Batting second, I thought he really came around last year and had the best part of his year was when he was hitting second.
A ball and 2 strikes, nobody out. Runners first and second. McDowell delivers, and this is outside 2-2.
That left-hander for the Indians in their bullpen may be Jim Poole, who we saw in the World Series, and I believe was the pitcher on the mound when David Justice hit the home run in Game 6.
Check swing foul. It stays 2-2. It is Jim Poole. He's the one that threw the home run ball to David Justice in Game 6. Out of Georgia Tech. Full count now, 3-2 on Lemke. McDowell has not walked or struck out anyone in this game. Now he's run the count full on Lemke, 3-2. Dwight Smith has moved on deck. He will pinch hit for Bourbon. The runner is not moving. Lemke pops one foul right back our way. And it stays 3-2. Braves open the regular season 1 week from tomorrow against the San Francisco Giants at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. It's a 1:10 game. There are still some tickets left. And we will have it for you here on TBS with a pregame show as well. Into center field by Lemke for a base hit with the runners moving. Warner will score without a throw. Down to second goes Javi Lopez, and the Braves are on the board. It's now 3-1. An RBI single for Lemke. He drives in his 4th run of the spring.
Pretty good at bat for the Limmer. Fouling off some tough pitches. And Jack McDowell perhaps running out of gas here in the 8th inning. Pretty good pitch, too. Fastball at the knees, down and away, and Mark went out and got it. Warner was running on the pitch, and he scored easily.
And this will be the end of the day for Jack McDowell, who gave the Indians everything they wanted from him today. Pitching into the 8th inning, the longest anyone for any team has gone this spring. McDowell winds up working 7+ innings. He's given up 7 hits, 1 run. The runners at first and second belong to him. No walks, no strikeouts. But a job well done by Jack McDowell. who leaves with the Indians leading at 3-1, and Jim Poole is the new Cleveland pitcher. Good outing for Jack McDowell. Leaves the game with the Indians on top 3-1, but the Braves continue to threaten here with runners at first and second, nobody out. The new pitcher is left-hander Jim Poole, who was on the mound for the David Justice home run in Game 6. You see his numbers for this spring. In 42 games of the Indians last year, 3-3 with a 375 earned run average. He is out of Georgia Tech, that fine baseball program they have there. That's an unusual hobby. Most ball players, you read about their hobbies, and they're always hunting, fishing, golf, or something like that. His is collecting comic books.
You know, that's become very lucrative in some ways, much like that of saving and collecting baseball cards. Other than that appearance he'd just as soon forget in Game 6, he had one other appearance in the World Series. Worked 2 1/3 innings total against the Braves, and that one hit, the home run, was the only hit and run he allowed.
Dwight Smith on the pinch hit, having a good spring at 323. Runners first and second, nobody out. Braves trying to bounce back here in the bottom half of the 8th inning. Poole looks the runner back to second. Javi Lopez is down there at second. Mark Lemke at first. Dwight back to resume his role as the Braves' #1 left-hand pinch hitter this year. Pops this one up, though, right side of the infield. Battling the wind by Erga, but stays with it. Infield fly rule in effect. 1 down. And that'll take us back to the top of the order, and Marquise Grissom.
Say that extra left-handed bat, though, of Tyler Houston, if he's kept on the team, Pete, what it will do is allow Bobby Cox, during a ball game in the 7th or 8th inning like today, where he doesn't want to use Dwight Smith or burn him perhaps and save him for the 9th if he needs him, he can use a guy like Tyler Houston. Give him a little more depth. Well, the Indians are playing this game like it is the 7th game of the World Series. They had the lefty Poole come in to face the lefty Dwight Smith. Now they're going to bring in the right-hander, Julian Taveras, to face Marquise Grissom. With 1 out, runners at first and second, and the Indians leading it 3-1. Indians still leading at 3-1. Braves have runners first and second, 1 out here in the bottom half of the 8th inning. The third Cleveland pitcher of the afternoon, right-hander Julian Taveras, had a 10-2 record in 57 games with a 244 earned run average for the Indians last year. You can see his numbers for this year have not been that impressive. He also was very effective in the World Series last year, did not give up a run in 5 appearances. And he's still a very, very young player. He's only going to be 23 years old in May. Got some votes for American League Rookie of the Year,
yes,
too.
He did.
Tied for 6th. Marty Cordova of Minnesota won the award in the American League last year.
Well, another RBI opportunity for Marquise Grissom, who has yet to drive in a run this spring. He's 0 for 3 today. Twice he's flied to right. Once he lined out to short. First and second, 1 down. Taveras, who throws hard, misses up and in with the fastball. Ball 1.
Good fastball, good slider, and very effective against Atlanta in the series, as you pointed out. No runs allowed.
He was the setup man for Jose Mesa all of last year for the Indians. One and 1 the count now on Marquise Grissom. And I don't know as though anyone took losing the World Series any tougher than Taveras did. Remember the pictures at the end of Game 6 with Taveras in tears on the Cleveland bench? Here's the 1-1 on the way. Grissom lines this one into right field. Base hit. Lopez around third. He will score. Heading for third is Lemke. Heading for second, Marquise Grissom. Out there, another fine throw by the right fielder, Ramirez. His second base runner he has gunned down today, but another run on the board for Atlanta. As Grissom picks up his first RBI of the spring, it's now 3-2 Cleveland.
I'll tell you something odd about this, Pete. Number one, it's a good swing by Grissom to fight that ball off into right field and get another run home. But remember in the World Series in Game 6, the Indians, Mike Hargrove, removed Manny Ramirez in a double switch late in that ball game and brought in Amaro to play right field, which all surprised all of us. And we saw today he's a great defensive right fielder.
Well, now the Braves have the potential tying run just 90 feet away with 2 men out, and the count 0-1 on Blauser. Blauser 0 for 3. He's grounded out to third, grounded out to short, and fly to center. Back to the pitcher, knocked down by Taveras. He recovers, throws to first. It's time to get Jeff Blauser for out number 3. But the Braves, bouncing back with 2 runs, have pulled to within 1 of the Indians as we go to the 9th inning.
A lot of kids beat, same thing.
Oh, yeah.
And they always win.
You always win those games. That's
Off
right.
the bottom of the ninth, Game 7, everybody always wins.
Except there are very few that gets to realize the real experience of winning that World Series, especially in your rookie year. Well, here's Mark Wohlers making his 7th appearance of the spring. It's been kind of an up-and-down spring for Mark. He's had, for the most part, good appearances, a couple of rocky ones. And his first pitch to Espinosa is a strike. Alvaro Espinosa is a non-roster player with the Indians right now. He played with them last year at 252 with a couple of home runs, 17 RBIs in a backup role.
Scored the winning run in that extra inning affair in Game 3.
1 ball, 1 strike. Eddie Murray has moved to the on-deck circle and will pinch hit for Taveras. The Indians brought their entire team down here to South Florida. They're going to be camped out here for the next 2 or 3 days, playing teams down in this part of the state. The 1-1 on the way, grounded to the left side. Rafael Belliard is checked in at short and shows his usual brilliant glove work over there as he throws out Espinosa.
Hot hitting Rafael Belliard, we might point out.
Hit a home run on Monday. His first one since a spring training game in 1991. And now Eddie Murray, who will enter this season 15th on the all-time hit list with 3,071, 16th on the all-time home run list with 479. He'll pass Lou Gehrig this year, maybe even Mel Ott if he has a big year. 13th on the all-time RBI list, ahead of Frank Robinson, right behind Al Simmons. But as a pinch hitter today, unsuccessful, as Marty Malloy, who's checked in at second base, throws him out.
Seeing Mark Wohlers out there reminds me that he also has a comment during the show you will see right after our ball game today that's very interesting about the way he felt when he was on the mound finishing
That
Game 6.
surprised me. It surprised me. You're gonna really like this program coming up after the game. Takes you through the whole season, the ups and downs of the season, and then right through all of the postseason. Playoff series with Colorado, Cincinnati, and the World Series with Cleveland. And you'll recall the moments, good and bad, that happened to the Braves last year. And then you'll also hear from the individuals involved, what they were thinking at the time.
5 of the 6 games in the series decided by 1 run.
Kenny Lofton, a couple of hits today, 2 out of 4. And almost took Mark Wohlers into center field with that one. He's 3 for 5. Hit number 7 for the Indians.
Well, his first 2 hits, he hadn't gotten past the pitcher's mound. One was a bunt, one was a swinging bunt, so he decided he'd hit a line drive this time up.
The batter will be Julio Franco, to the sacrifice fly in the 7th inning. Right now is the difference in this game. He drove in the 3rd Cleveland run. He has also fly to right, struck out, bounced to the pitcher. Wohlers delivers, and that's out of play in the count 0-1.
Mark has been pitching well down here with the exception of his last outing. He got roughed up a little bit, gave up some runs, so today he's trying to get back on the right track.
He worked an inning in yesterday's game. So we've reached the point in spring training where the closer types are now going on back-to-back days, which doesn't happen for the first 2 weeks of exhibition games. Here's the 0-1 on the outside corner. 0-2, the count on Franco.
With Jerome Walton a little slow to come around from his hip muscle injury that he's trying to hustle back and get ready for opening day on. Those two guys in center field and right field have an opportunity perhaps to stick with the club when it starts if Walton's not ready to go, and it's Damon Hollins in center or Jermaine Dye that's playing right.
Both are ticketed for Richmond, but if there's a disabled list move with Jerome Walton opening day, they may stick for a little while. They've had outstanding springs. In fact, when you look at the numbers that the Braves offensive players have posted, the numbers that stand out are the numbers of Damon Hollins, the center fielder, 387 with a homer and 2 RBIs, and Jermaine Dye leads the team in RBIs, hitting 359 with 2 homers and 12 RBIs.
They are both outstanding looking young players. Both run well, too.
Here's the 0-2 with a runner going. Doesn't matter. Down on strikes is Franco, and that's all for Cleveland in the 9th inning. We go to the bottom half of the 9th. 3-2 Cleveland. Bottom half of the 9th inning. Couple more changes for the Indians. Herbert Perry is the new first baseman, and the new pitcher is their closer, Jose Mesa. There's Perry. And Mesa, who last year in 62 games went 3-0 with 46 saves and an ERA of 1.13, and he's picked right up this spring. This will be his 11th appearance. He's already picked up 4 saves, and his ERA is under 1.
And he was a guy that when he broke in with the Orioles, not too many people ever projected him as a closer. They all expected him to be a very successful starting pitcher. And at the age of 29 last year, really made a big splash for the Indians and a big part of their success.
Ed Giovanola will lead off the bottom of the 9th. Braves down by 1 run. Another 1-run game between these two teams who played 5 of them in the World Series last year. Giovanola rolls one out towards second. That's fielded by Vallerga. On to first in time. 1 pitch, 1 out here in the 9th. And now Aldo Pecorilli will be the hitter for the first time today. Pecorilli's had a good spring. Has 2 homers. Or 1 homer, correction. That was a grand slam. His batting average only 105, but you can see the numbers he posted last year. Greenville, the first half of the year, he was tearing up the Southern League, then moved up to Richmond. He can catch or play first. Takes the first one low, ball 1.
Yeah, his grand slam was a week ago today against the Dodgers up in Vero Beach, straightaway center field.
Came over from the St. Louis Cardinals in the trade for infielder Ramon Caraballo back in November of '94. Out of Eastern Michigan University. 1 ball, 1 strike. In the dirt, 2-1. Mesa delivers the 2-1 pitch and misses with that one. It's now 3-1.
Despite striking out a lot of hitters, Mesa did not walk many guys. 58 strikeouts in 64 innings, but only 17 walks.
Won a lot of awards last year. He was the American League Reliever of the Year, the Sporting News Fireman of the Year. Into center field, no. Espinosa there with the glove to take a base hit away from Pecorilli for out number 2. Mesa also finished second in the Cy Young balloting last year in the American League.
Espinosa wasn't quite sure that he had this ball. Had to look down at the glove to see if it stayed in there. It was hit so hard.
Well, that'll bring up Jermaine Dye. 359, 2 homers, and leads the club with 12 RBIs this spring. Braves have done something that's very difficult to do. A lot of times when you get to the top like the Braves have been the last 5 years, your minor league system diminishes somewhat. That has not happened with the Braves, and Jermaine Dye just keeps on stinging the ball. A 1-hopper off the wall and right, and he's in at second with a stand-up double. That is his 6th extra base hit this spring. He's now 15 for 40, batting .375 for spring training.
He's got a long, lean body, too. Reminds me a little bit of Devon White, who's now with the Florida Marlins. He may not have Devo's speed, but he also might be a little bit stronger. That's a pretty good pop going the opposite way, and he just continues to impress everybody around the Braves camp. And like I said, if Walton is not ready to go opening day, look for Jermaine Dye to have a shot at having a Braves uniform on opening day.
Now Mike Warner, who came on as a pinch runner for Ryan Klesko back in the 8th inning. Warner, a minor leaguer. You see the numbers he had last year at Greenville. He's currently on the Richmond roster. A big year for Durham 2 years ago. Grounds this one to first. It's going to be fielded by Perry, and this should be the ball game. Mesa there to take the throw. And the Cleveland Indians have prevailed here this afternoon before a record crowd here at Municipal Stadium, as the Indians win their 6th game in a row of spring training by a final score of 3-2. Jose Mesa saving it for Jack McDowell.
And our AutoZone player of the game here in spring training goes to Black Jack McDowell, who had a great outing. Seven shutout innings, ran out of gas a little bit in the 8th inning, gave up a couple of runs, but overall an outstanding performance by him. And oddly enough, no walks or strikeouts. But congratulations to Jack McDowell and the Cleveland Indians, who pick up the win today here at West Palm Beach. Back to close things out right after this.
Baseball brought to you by Beechwood Aid.
Well, it was supposed to be just a regular spring training game between the participants in last year's World Series, but it turned out to be more than that in the way that both teams played today, and a good ball game. 3-2 won by the Cleveland Indians. 3 runs, 7 hits, no errors, 8 men left on. The Braves 2-9-2, and they stranded 4. McDowell is now 1-2 on the spring with his good performance. John Smoltz had a good outing with the strikeouts. He did walk a couple of guys, but he picks up the loss at 2-1. His first loss, obviously, of the spring, but he looked pretty good at times. Threw a lot of pitches. That's why he was only able to work 5 innings. But a good outing nonetheless, and Jose Mesa picked up his 5th save. Time of the game, 2 hours and 31 minutes, 8,516, an all-time spring training Braves record here at Municipal Stadium this afternoon.
The next Braves game will be tomorrow night on Sports South against the New York Mets. That'll be Steve Avery going against Paul Wilson. Our next telecast on TBS will be Friday night at 7:05 Eastern against the same Cleveland Indians. Coming up next, the premiere of the Atlanta Braves on Top of the World. Stand by for that. You're going to enjoy it. Joe Simpson, Skip Carey, Don Sutton, our entire TBS crew, Pete Van Weeren from Municipal Stadium in West Palm Beach, Florida. Thanks for joining us. So long, everyone.